Concerns have been raised over low participation of people with disabilities in Zimbabwean politics. In the recently held March 26 by-elections, no single person with a disability contested for the 28 parliamentary seats and 122 local government seats that were up for grab. Section 22 of the Constitution says that all institutions and agencies of the government at every level must recognize the rights of people with physical or mental disabilities, particularly their right to be treated with respect and dignity. This means that political parties have an obligation to ensure that their members who have disabilities are given a fair opportunity to contest for political positions and participate in internal party affairs. People with disabilities constitute around 15% of the global population, which is about 1 billion people, according to the World Bank report of 2022. In Zimbabwe, 7% of the country's population, which is about 914,000 people, are people with disabilities, according to the 2013 National Survey on Living Conditions Among Persons with Disabilities. Despite people with disabilities constituting such a significant number, activists that advocate for their rights have bemoaned their absence in key political positions. President Emmerson Mnangagwa launched the National Disability Policy in June last year, which seeks to address the marginalisation and discrimination of persons with disabilities in the country. Parliament in 2013 reserved 2 seats for senators, 1 male and 1 female, to represent people with disabilities and address discrimination against them. Investigations carried out by the Zimbabwe Independent in partnership with the Information for Development Trust, however, show that there are still gaps that need to be closed to promote participation of people with disabilities in politics, as they bemoan their absence in key political positions. Violence in politics emerged as the major barrier to participation for people with disabilities. Henry Masaya, who is the National Association of Societies for the Care of the Handicapped, acting executive director, said people living with disabilities did not participate in politics because of violence. He said they could not protect themselves against violence at gatherings.
Our political environment is full of violence, and people with disabilities sometimes are afraid to participate in politics because they think that if violence erupts, then they will not be able to protect themselves.
Tafadzwa Mutubuka, a Citizens Coalition for Change party member from Highfield, popularly known as DJ Venaldo, is a victim of political violence during the March 26 by-elections campaign, when he was assaulted and denigrated after trying to stop ZANU-PF supporters from assaulting his wife. Mutubuka implored political parties to put in place policies that put people with disabilities at the same level with able-bodied people when contesting for top political posts.
Yeah, people living with disability, most of them, they do not have the resources to the extent that they can become candidates of a certain constituency or a certain ward. As you all know, Zimbabwe is struggling economically. Even people who are able-bodied are struggling to live because there's no employment in Zimbabwe. And there are opportunities for people living with disability are hard to come by. Thereby they are marginalized, they are not very equipped with the materials that are needed for an election to if you want to pursue a political career.
17-year-old Yeze Umandaza from Mausekwa High School in Marondera, who became Zimbabwe's first child president with a disability, said the discrimination discouraged young people with disabilities to take up leadership positions. Disability rights activist and National Council of Disabled Persons of Zimbabwe member Lillian Gwanyanya lamented lack of adherence to the constitution and implementation of government policies protecting the rights of people with disabilities.
I would want to quote Section 3.27, subsection 1, which says ensure that persons with disabilities enjoy and exercise their right to vote or to be elected. Eliminate all provisions and practices which restrict or deny the right to vote of persons with disabilities.
One of the two people with disabilities appointed to the Senate, Manyao Nasba, said people with disabilities chose to stay out of politics because they are afraid of violence.